Hey, I am okay, the comic artist, and I hope you're doing okay as well. Today, in today's video, I am inking a page or a panel from Blue Planet issue 3. This is the third issue in the Blue Planet series, and I am coming to a conclusion with the Blue Planet chapter. This Blue Planet issue 3 is in the I guess Blueniverse, I call it. There is a Size of the Blueberry first chapter. The second chapter is Apocalyptic Blueberry, and now we're on to Blue Planet, the chapter. All right, so I am just working on inking today. I should start coloring in a day or two. You can always track progress on this comic by going to my Okayokayokok DeviantArt webpage. You can track the progress right here in my Deviant ID, and I update this pretty much daily every time I do work on a comic. Just had a mic fall, so apologize for that. But here we go. This is the character Janice, if you haven't read the series, and she has a major role in this issue. I am thinking this comic will be a 16 or 17 page comic issue. Pre-order will be available on Valentine's Day, and the finished comic will be available the following week. 14th of February is Valentine's Day, so that's about 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away. There's been a full blueberry transformation, there's been a shrunken blueberry, there's been boobs blueberry transformation, and there has not been a butt expansion in this chapter yet, so I will leave you to speculate on what will be seen in this issue. Shouldn't be too hard to guess, but yeah, we're also going to try looking for a title on this. I think it will either be Blueberry Fields Forever or Tying Up Loose Ends. Maybe work on that, tying up loose ends. Maybe try to come up with some kind of variation, clever variation of that. But there is a lot of tying up of loose ends, and there's actually tying up in this issue, people getting tied up, so it would be a nice little not ironic, but anyways, we're looking at this chapter. We're wondering, or some people are wondering, if there's going to be more of the Blueberry universe, the Blueniverse, after Blue Planet is over. And I can't really answer that yet. You'll have to see the ending of this issue to know if there will be more or not. Right now I can say that I'm not planning. I haven't put down on the schedule like more Blueberry comics. If you are excited about Windy Wonka Chapter 2, I will make sure I include a Blueberry transformation in that comic, or in that series. But I've not planned for any more Blueberry based issues like Blue Planet or Apocalyptic Blueberry. Talking about future work, my next comic is going to be Windy Wonka Chapter 2. It'll probably be a 6-issue series. I'm thinking that I'll do maybe 2 issues at a time and work on a single issue of something else, maybe a single issue comic, or maybe a Tales comic in between, to break up the series a little bit. I like to kind of give a little bit of space, but previously, I think with the first Windy Wonka, that was the first one where I actually did maybe 2 issues of the same series in a row. I usually do one series issue and then move on to the next series and do an issue and then move back to that series, just kind of jumping around series, so it's not too long between issues on a particular series. but I think I've kind of concluded some of the series, like, Blue Planet will be a conclusion. I do have one more issue of Sanderson's Stepsisters, but I've just found it really hard to get back into wanting to do it, because for whatever reasons, whether it's pirating or whether it's just wanting to wait till they're all finished, I just haven't been selling enough of them to really get motivated to work on it more, and I've been hit with huge medical bills. I just absolutely hate the United States healthcare system, and I am really considering moving to Canada or some other social healthcare place, because it's just awful. Speaking of which, it's just, you never know what you're going to get charged for medical expenses. You never know if your insurance is going to fully cover it, even if they tell you they're going to cover it, and they'll be like, cover some of it. It's just awful. So I don't want to talk about that anymore. It really angers me. So we're going to be working on Windy Wonka Chapter 2, and what could take the Blooniverse's place now that Blue Planet is finished. I'm thinking that Goddess of Fertility will be kind of the successor to the Blueberry series. It did really well, and I got really good response. A lot of people liked Goddesses of Fertility. So I did leave it to where it would be open for a second issue. And I can actually see a couple issues coming into this series, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great little fun story, and there's definitely room for more Goddesses of the Fertility comics. So that will probably take the place of the Blooniverse. We could probably see an issue 2 coming in spring. I think the Windy Wonka Chapter 2, if I do 2 issues, that will definitely take 3 months to do those 2 issues. So it is February. I'm looking at probably May for more Goddesses of the Fertility. I will also probably try to do another Tales from the Crypt Keeper, or I might just do a single issue of a weight gain story. It kind of depends. I know Windy Wonka is very heavily based in the weight gain kind of what is that? Windy Wonka is very heavily based in weight gain stories, and so I might need a break from that. We might go to Tales from the Crypt Keeper while I'm taking a break from Windy Wonka, or I might just finally conclude Sanderson's Stepsisters. I have been wanting to conclude it. My plan for what I will do after Sanderson's Stepsisters is to start the series Mofo and Coco, which I'm really excited about. It is going to be an original intellectual property kind of thing, where it's all stuff I've created. I've been working on it for probably a year and just trying to create new ideas, trying to really create a deep story for this series, and I think it's gonna be one of those series where you take a lot of time preparing for it, and it'll end up being one of those series where you can actually tell that someone's put a lot of thought into it. I'm hoping to make it be very original and something that this scene has not seen before. Okay, so I've finished this panel, inking that one. I've taken away the dialogue to kind of keep it a surprise for what's happening, but we are now done with this. I'm going to actually strengthen up this inking spot to where it's in the foreground. Alright, we'll get this a little bit bigger too. She's wearing gloves. If you can't tell, that's why these fingers look a little fat for a woman's fingers. Let's see, how do you draw gloves? Kind of give it like crevices, creases, that kind of thing, that heavy creases that look non-skin like, I guess. Alright, so there we go. Kind of strengthen up this one too. Okay, so we're done with that. We can move on to the next one. I've got one more page set up. This is the pencils I've got going on here. Let's make this light. Around 20% is what I usually put my pencils on. Now, I had one more big question. If you're listening to this, this is my major question I want to ask you as the audience. In preparing for Willy Wonka Chapter 2, I've seen a comment once or twice that I'm very just very concerned about, I guess, is that the I guess the sexual factor in the comics isn't turned up high enough. Like it kind of stops short of being, you know, full-blown sexy. And I'm like I always try to adhere to DeviantArt policies when doing commissions, but for actual comics, these aren't actually put onto the DeviantArt gallery, so I don't really have to adhere to DeviantArt policies. Actually, let's make her more like surprised. She kind of looks like, just another everyday, just another. Okay, so yeah, I was getting back to this question. I'm wondering if the comics I'm doing are just not quite sexy enough. My question to you is, should I make it a little more intentionally and more intensely sexy, more overtly? I'm guessing more like body fluids, a little more dirty is basically what you're going to be seeing if you'd want to see that. So if you want to leave in a comment if you'd like to see it get dirtier, more I guess the word is more pornographic. It's more like right now, it's like I feel like I try to do comics that are almost like mainstream comics, but they have a fetish story. They have fetish kind of tendencies interlaced into the story. It's stories that you wouldn't see in mainstream comics, but you know, it's meant to kind of merge the worlds. It's more like trying to reach for a perfect blend of mainstream comic and fetish comic. It's not trying to lean heavily on one end or the other. And I'm just wondering if you'd like to see something. It might be better to do it in a one-off story that doesn't involve a series, but maybe like that a single issue weight gain comic. Try it in something like that and see what the response is. I'm just trying to kind of gauge viewership on is it feeling like a little too overdone? Like, do you need to see something? Do you need to see it reach new levels or try new things? And if you do, I would like to try doing that in Willy Wonka Chapter 2. Maybe doing some scenes that are more sexual, and maybe some scenes that are more like what I've been doing. Basically just, you know, expansion without, you know, like, I don't know if I can talk about on YouTube videos, but something that's more, you know, sexual. All right, so that's my question for you in this video. If you'd like to leave a comment or leave me a note, send me an email, that kind of thing, it's going to help me a lot to know what I should be doing in these future comics. I don't want to be stale. I want to keep things feeling new and fresh, and I want to give you something new. I don't want to give you the same thing, because I feel like the problem with Hollywood right now is just that we're getting the same thing over and over, and I pretty much hate movies right now. I don't like, there's occasionally a movie that comes out that I like, but I just feel like we're getting the same old trash, and it's boring. I enjoy watching films making fun of films more than I do the intentionally dramatic films, blockbuster films. So that is what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to give a different outlet into comics of work that is, let's say, more what you want to see, what you would like to see. This is something you have a little more control over than Hollywood. Hollywood's like based on millions of people's responses, and a lot of China, a lot of China now, because China sees more movies than America. So leave me a comment, leave me an email, anything like that. You can find my link to my DeviantArt site down there in the description. Subscribe, hit like if you enjoy watching these videos, enjoy hearing more about what's going on behind the scenes. I'm okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.